The Gambia government said extreme weather condition at sea delays the petrol shipment. South Sudan restricts the United States-US dollars interactions to contain high cost of living. And high inflation is causing nuisance in Uganda's real estate sector. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. And you're watching the World Today newscast with me, Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. The government of the Gambia says the petrol shipment scheduled to deliver petrol by March 3, 2023 has been delayed by extreme weather conditions at sea amid a wave of complaints from commuters and also motorists over forced supply. Now, this came after many people, especially drivers, decry that there is scarcity of fuel in the country. Moses Imen has the rest of that in this report.
The discontent over the low domestic stock in the Gambia is palpable, but a release states that the government has employed swift measures to arrest the situation. According to the release, the government has verified the circumstances affecting the vessel at sea, and that President Adama Barrow have instructed the line ministries to alternatively replenish the current low domestic stock through overland importation from neighboring countries. The press release further adds that in a bid to avert a fuel crisis, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, MOFI, is granting concessions to Oryx, Jar Oil and 3 other licensed importers to swiftly source petrol from Senegal. It explained that Jar Oil has particularly secured 1.5 million liters of petrol to be delivered within the next 24 hours. The government also clarified that the limited sale of petrol by oil marketing companies (OMCs) across various fuel stations nationwide is a tentative measure of ensuring steady supply parallel to the overland delivery of additional gasoline. The government says it has liberalized the petroleum sector and granted some 50 import licenses to private investors, while maintaining diligent regulatory oversight, adding that it subsidizes fuel and ensures price stability at the retail pumps in the country. However, several months ago, the Gambia was rocked by a transportation crisis as a result of disagreements between the government and drivers over fuel pricing structures. For Eyeafrica News, I am Moses Imendi.
The government of the Gambia, they says petrol shipment got delayed due to extreme weather condition at the sea. Now, government officials, experts, and the business community gathered in what it dubbed as the first Cairo Food Summit as Egypt tries to fight off a continuous global food security issue. The summit aims to increase food availability and production and support private sectors in the food supply chain. Now, Egypt is experiencing a climate-fueled food crisis as it hosts this year's UN Climate Summit. Now, details in this report.
Government officials, experts and the business community gathered in what is dubbed the first Cairo Food Summit as Egypt tries to fight off a continuous global food security issue.
The aim of the summit is very simple. How can we increase availability? How can we increase production? How can we support private sector to take a bigger role in the food supply chain, from land reclamation to improving horizontally and vertically the production, to reduction of waste in the whole supply chain, sorting and packaging, as well as upgrading our agro-food industries.
The private sector is seen as a major player in these efforts.
The private sector represents a big segment of the economy and has a pivotal role to work with the government for self-sufficiency in food products. We launched an initiative to support the country by freezing prices of our products like pasta at lower than 35% of market price, especially as we head to the month of Ramadan.
Egypt imports over 70% of its needs. Therefore, the impact of global inflation, recent floating of the Egyptian pound, and the supply chain disruptions has hit the predominantly poor population of the North African country. Officials here outlined the government's strategy to deal with the crisis.
We have been working over the past few years to ensure that we have sufficient security. President Sisi has instructed the whole country to increase storage capacity. Our strategy has been minimum 3 to 6 months of strategic reserve of all strategic goods, and in the same time from 2 to 3 months reserve of raw materials for both food industries and pharmaceutical industries.
The solution at the conference are mainly medium to long term. Meantime, the government has moved promptly to support the low-income earners by establishing tens of outlets countrywide to sell food commodities at discounted prices.
The prices here are very good, and the timing too, because traders increase prices before Ramadan. The government is providing chicken and rice, for example, at good quality and low prices.
In spite of the efforts by the government, there is concern that a prolonged conflict in Eastern Europe will continue to put more pressure on the food supply sector in the North African country.
Food summit on the way in Egypt to increase its production and also its availability. Now, real estate investors in Uganda are placing their bet on oil and gas investments to store up a property demand amidst a high economic space. Now, the increasing cost of living is already having ripple effects across the board, which is notwithstanding frugal business strategies in the slower than the guaranteed pace of economic recovery. Now, the dollar rate is also affecting manufacturers, forcing most of the import at a high cost. Now, suppliers in the construction industry are already feeling the pinch. Details of that in this report.
Ugandan builders are trying to increase accommodation space in the country. But it's not easy, according to Fancy Nirere, a marketer at HK Properties Limited.
The land prices have gone high, so it's getting hard each day to get land, especially within the areas that we're looking at for our condominiums, areas that we feel can sell out for us.
Real estate developers blame the current situation on rising inflation and the weak purchasing power of the national currency, the shilling. Uganda imports most of the raw materials for construction from Europe and Asia. This housing complex is expected to be completed by the end of this year. But the developer here says there have been delays in works because of the rising cost of raw materials and slow financing from the buyers because of hiked interest rates on their bank loans. The situation has been made worse by the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which has hit global supply chains.
The challenge came with the rising prices of fuel, which affected the construction material, which went up. And we saw most developers failing to meet the target or the deadlines for their construction, and they had to renegotiate with their clients.
And according to the Bank of Uganda, inflation isn't coming down anytime soon.
2023 is going to be anywhere between 8 and 10% before coming down eventually to 5% in 2024.
To tame the rising inflation, Bank of Uganda is urging developers to apply for low-interest loans that have been set aside by the government. But economists say there is little they can do to control external inflationary pressures. So for now, Uganda's real estate sector is left bracing for even tougher times to come, waiting for inflation to eventually dip in 2024.
Real estate investors in Uganda placing their bet on oil and gas investments to soar up property demand amidst a tight economic space. We'll take us to a quick break and we'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Africa Global brings you state-of-the-art commercial and retail spaces available for rent at Madiba Mall, located at the Brookwood Gardens Estate. Our commercial spaces comes with facilities such as 24-hour security, standby backup generator, air conditioning, shared conference room, and personal cash pool meters. If you are looking for a spacious and suitable business environment, look no further. Madiba Mall retail and commercial spaces are just what you need. Ocean View office spaces with limited availability. Call us today and secure a space. For more information, contact 733-3363 or 594-1053 or email at info@tapafricaglobal.com.
Welcome back from that break. You are still watching the World Today newscast here on Eyeafrica TV. And now to more stories. An Afrobarometer Round 9 survey on election and local governance revealed that about 60% of Gambians want the marble voting system to be maintained, while 35% still believe that the Gambia should do away with marble and introduce paper balloting. Now, Gambia's Electoral Commission has announced plans of migrating from the use of marbles to the widely known paper balloting voting system, but it appears that most Gambians still want to see the old system of voting to be remained. Now, details in this report.
The Gambia's system of voting using marble is very unique in the sub-region and the world at large. The marble way of voting allows voters to drop small marbles into drums for the candidate of their choice among the candidates participating in the organized elections. They know their vote has been counted when they hear a chime. The technology as well is highly tamper-proof and nearly impossible to manipulate without being detected. When someone drops a marble, election officials hear a loud ring sound. No one can cast more than one vote without being discovered, even in the privacy of a polling booth. This unique voting system is believed to be designed to make it more convenient for all eligible citizens, especially for the illiterate, to exercise their democratic rights. The simplicity makes it easy for even first-time voters to understand and participate. Presenting the report, Mr. Lang Sanyang, a researcher at CEPRAS, explains in detail the findings of the Gambia's view on the marble voting system.
Change of voting system, just as I said initially, from the very beginning, 60% still believe that we should continue using the marble system, not changing to a paper ballot. And this, no doubt, knowing the level of literacy in this country, I think that must have been one of the reasons why we are seeing this result. And also you can see 35% disagree. They agree strongly that there should be a change from marble to paper ballot. And we have 3% who, of course, neither agree nor disagree.
In terms of demographics and gender opinions, the survey has these revelations on the marble voting system.
So you can see we've further gone down to look at change voting system based on demographics. And as you can see, between men and women in this country, it's similar views. 60% believe that we should maintain the marble system, not the paper ballot. In terms of rural and urban, you can see 69% of rural people believe that we definitely should maintain the marble system instead of moving to paper ballot, which also, if you look at the level of education between rural and urban, you will definitely know that, well, this is not surprising. And in terms of age, you can see much more older people, that is 56 years and above. 69% of them think that we should maintain the old system, that is marble.
Independent Electoral Commission IEC Chairman Ali Mamanjai earlier this year announced that the Gambia will be using paper ballots starting from the 2026 presidential election. Despite the marble voting system being in use for over 60 years, the IEC argues that the increase in political participation has made it practically impossible for the Commission to continue using the marble. The latest Afrobarometer survey, however, unveils that the majority of the Gambian population still prefers the marble voting system. Research has also indicated that the benefits of the Gambia's marble voting system extend beyond its novelty. It indicates that this system of voting is an innovation that addresses issues of voter fraud and illiteracy. While there have been legitimate concerns about the voting system, with some urging for a switch into paper ballot system, the Gambia would be wise to look for inventive ways to improve and not abolish it. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
An Afrobarometer right now on survey there on election and local governance reveals that the majority of Gambians still want the marble system voting to stay instead of paper balloting. Now, the Central Bank of South Sudan earlier this week restricted public institutions and the private sector to transact business only in the local currency. the South Sudanese pound. Now, amid the current volatile exchange rate, which has seen the local pound depreciated against the US dollar. Now, the International Monetary Fund has also tracked this move to restrict using the United States dollar in local transactions and contracts. Now, this is part of the efforts by President Salva Kiir's administration to contain the high cost of living that has hit households and also businesses. Let's hear details in this report.
Hassan Ali owns a shop in Juba. Ali says he is not opposed to making transactions in local currency, but he says doing business is more difficult than ever.
We are suffering a lot. Our problem is the exchange rate. If the price of the US dollar against South Sudanese pounds could be stable, we will be relieved. Our customers are having problems with us because prices are increasing every day. They ask us, how come prices are increasing each and every day? They don't know about the US dollar. What they want is the prices to be stable.
The order for the use of South Sudanese pounds in transactions within the country became effective from January 27th. Prices of most basic goods have doubled since then, and there is no sign of inflation cooling.
The main idea behind this is to encourage the use of SSP as a national currency, whether it's in contracts, government contracts, or any other contracts. But it does not mean that we are going to forbid dollars from being, NGOs can still pay their stuff in dollars. But what we want is that you go with your dollars to a forex bureau, change it, go and buy things in the market. That's all what we meant by this.
The government says the move is meant to tame dollar speculation, improve the value of the country's currency, and lower the cost of living. However, many financial institutions, non-governmental organizations, civil society groups, hospitality industry, travel agencies, commercial agencies, and service industry rely heavily on the US dollar for transaction. One expert says the government will have to do more to stabilize the economy.
When you look at the relationship between the central bank and the commercial bank, there is no trust. When you look at the relationship, they are not working. So it required first the central bank to build confidence in a relationship between itself and the commercial bank, so that the commercial bank could trust now the central bank with their reserve. They put it at the central bank, and now the central bank can use it to stabilize the currency.
Business people like Hassan Ali say their sales are dropping, and their only hope is for the central bank to find a solution to the exchange rate volatility.
The Central Bank of South Sudan, they are restricting public institutions and the private sector to transact business only in the local currency, which is the South Sudanese pound, amid the current volatile exchange rate, which has seen the local pound depreciating against the US dollar, will take us to the end of this edition of the World Today Newscast. For more news, visit our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Eyeafrica TV. You can still visit our website on www.eyeafrica.tv. I'm your presenter, Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for watching, and do have a wonderful evening.